What is the market outlook for property investors and developers in 2020? In this series of 5 videos, I'm joined by 4 renowned property experts, and in each video, each expert will share with you their predictions for what the 2020 property market has in store for you. This is a must-watch. And you're going to want to be taking some notes and sitting down with a cup of coffee and watching all this series of 5 videos. Before we get started, remember, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon, because we release new content each and every week, and everything is dedicated to helping you be more successful in property. Also, smash that like button, it really helps us out on YouTube. And also comment down below whether you agree or disagree with what's being said. Comment and let us know. And finally, you're going to hear from renowned expert John Corey. John Corey started his working life over in Silicon Valley working for Steve Jobs. He's had over 30 years experience in property. He has a portfolio spanning 4 countries and 11 time zones. He's an author and writes regularly for Property Investor News, and you'll have seen him add commentary in the press and also at various networking events. Here are the views of John Corey in terms of what's in store for 2020.
So this has gotten way more complicated than I expected. So I'm gonna make some notes or something. David's saying I'm gonna say this, and someone else has said it like, okay, what am I supposed to say? No. This is sort of easier because then I can say we'll wrap it up to go to the break, right? So when was the peak of the UK's power in the world? Strongest currency, strongest military, top of the world. Exactly, 1908. It's been all shit since then. Now, almost. Would you have wanted some property at 1908 prices in London now? Yes. Right? So it's been all declining since then, and you'd still want to own the assets. Okay? Why do people have houses? It's to live in, right? What is the population doing? It's going up. So do we need more houses or less?
Or less people.
Well, the Nazis tried that. It didn't work so well. So we just announced today that we're going to remove the immigration barriers. That was just published today by the Conservatives. We're not going to have a cap on immigration, because that is what was important in the Brexit vote, but it's like number 7 on the list right now, and the voters can't think that deep. So we're back to economy or whatever. Immigration is no longer the issue. In fact, it's particularly a problem because we get older. I'm probably the oldest in the panel. And the NHS can't get any workers. So you can either go somewhere else for your medical treatment or bring the workers in. We just won't get the cheap ones from Europe. We'll get the expensive ones. Notice we have Australia to America on the panel. So when was this country a nation of renters? David said I had to answer this.
Turn of the last 30s?
Yeah. Turn of the last century, 30s.
Or when the land reg came in.
Land reg. Well, I don't know if anyone knows that.
Before
70s. Oh yeah, because
32.
When you had landowners and lords owning the.
Yeah, okay, you're wrong, but. So when the Queen took the throne, the majority of the country rented. We still have the same Queen. So it's only in her period of reign. She's been around a long time. So 53, we're a nation of renters. I think it was 70%. This homeowner crap is a new thing. It's a baby boomer invention. But most of us, the baby boomers, are younger, so that's all we remember. So we think we're a nation of homeowners. It's how you tell the story. It's sort of like how he was saying, you got to look at the data, and then actually Ranjan talked about it. You're going to ask, but what is the backstory to the data? So I could tell you text stories about how things really happened, and then there's the summarized version in the latest book or something. How many people lived through World War II? Probably next to no one. How can they get a whole 7-year battle into war into one book? They leave a lot of the data out, and they just sort of skim over the stuff, right? So you have to be careful about what you believe. And if you ask the wrong question, you'll end up with the wrong answer. Look at the Brexit vote. What was the question? Do you want your independence? No one's ever going to vote to be a slave. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's a state in the US, the license plates say, live free or die. They'd rather be dead, right? It's not how they vote. So change, as Fiona talked about, is actually one of the keys. And so, in fact, the whole panel talked about it. Now, who in here has bought the UK property market? You traded the UK property market, bought or sold. So you have? How did you do?
By buying a property.
No. You didn't buy the market. You bought a damn house. Or a building.
Part of the market.
You bought statistically nothing.
Yeah.
So who has actually bought an index or a contract or something that gave you exposure to the whole market? Yeah, Crazy would be one of the only ones ever. Okay. So fundamentally, none of us buy or sell the market. We buy or sell buildings. How do we get good deals?
What does that even mean? I'm too,
Well, everybody
too
talk-
much of a beginner to
No,
know what you're talking
this
about.
is good.
That sentence.
Everybody talks about the market
Right,
as if you can trade the market.
right,
There's no index.
okay.
You buy a house. Where do you get a bargain? You look for someone getting divorced. You look for someone that has a dependency on drugs or alcohol. You look for someone who's got a debt problem. You look for someone who's got to relocate because they had a death in the family or something like that. Those buyers and sellers become much more motivated than what the market's doing. You have a builder who has a bankruptcy, and not the builder, but the builder's team company was bankrupt. They have to now get liquid so they can finish the project. It wasn't their fault, but that's why the bargain popped up. You don't buy any market. All these statistics are great, except it's not what you do. There was an article in the FT every January, the first week. This happened for about 5 years, and I've been here for 25 years. I don't quite remember when this was. And it would say, stock market, property, which one did better last year? And they would use the FTSE 100, and they would use the property index. And it tends to be neck and neck, and stock market won this year by 1%, property won last year by 2%, whatever. And then one year they published an article saying, sorry, we've had it wrong all these years. So we're comparing a complete cash purchase stock market index with a house where no one buys houses with just cash, or most people don't. So if we recalculate this based on how people buy houses with a bit of debt, every year housing's won the contest. We've just been misreporting it for 5 years. This was like on the front page of the FT in the Saturday section, the first week of January every year, and then they had to say, sorry, we got it wrong. But for 5 years, if you believed what they said, it's false. So don't buy the markets. This whole cycle thing, you're buying deals. If you get a deal at 20% off and the cycle's going down or up, like who the hell cares? Especially when you have positive cash flow and you've locked in a 10-year contract on the interest rate. It's like, what is your exposure? If the market crashes around you, you buy some more, right? So you have,
Hallelujah. I give you hallelujah.
say amen, yeah. We'll do the whole American thing. So Philadelphia has some real bargains right now. People are buying like houses, 2 and 3 unit houses for $70,000. How many here in London is going over there? Right? None of you. And then very few Americans are buying in London because like, that's Britain, isn't that like over the water? Even though it's 40% off. Brexit was the greatest deal for foreigners. Only the people with sterling got screwed. Everybody else gets a bargain, 20% off on day one, and it's only gotten better. So country of renters, which country in Europe needed an IMF bailout? First European country. We have Greece, Ireland, Greece. First country in Europe. Okay, now we figured it out. First country in Europe that needed IMF bailout was the one you're in. Go Britain. 1976 went bankrupt. Okay? Now this is back when you couldn't keep the lights on more than 3 days a week.
Yes.
So I don't have a UK passport, I can't vote. Maybe there was context. Maybe actually, as he said, you have to understand the context of what was going on.
Strikes.
Strikes, union issues. No. But, so the UK needed an IMF bailout because it was bankrupt. And Thatcher was after that. Some of the selling off the housing stock. Why'd you sell off the housing stock? What's the popular answer? To buy votes, right? The other reason might be because we couldn't afford to maintain the shit. If we sell it to the people living in it, they'll have to pay for it. So we shift the asset off the balance sheet, let those people maintain it, because we have no money left, because we just came out of bankruptcy. What was going on with interest rates in '76?
They were about to go up to 16.
17%.
Well, they weren't quite that high then, but yes, it was quite a
17%.
There's like whole decades when they're over 10%. Fiona's getting like 10-year fixed at, what did you say it was?
Something like 2.68.
Yeah, so under 3 for 10 years fixed, when there were decades when the Bank of England rate, not the bank on top, the Bank of England was over 10%. So what happens when interest rates go like this to house prices?
Asset prices go
They
up.
tend to go like that, because everybody can afford about 1/3 of your salary per month. Now, you can either give it to the bank in interest or it's the seller in principal. So when you drop the interest side of the equation, you can raise the other side. So when Ireland cut their interest rate in half from 6 to 3 to join the ERM / to then join the euro, asset prices went up. Because the person with the job was, well, I get $1,000 a month. What can I get? Well, you need a lot less interest so you can buy a lot more electricity. So I don't know, we're at a 300-year low for interest rates. Forget David cycles, 300 years. Okay? It's not likely that they're going to go much lower. That may be your big external risk, besides that and the global warming one. I do own property in SC1. Every property in the area, and I'm talking like from between Tower Bridge and London Bridge, from the river down to like Elephant Castle, you can't build residential on the ground floor. It's below the water line and the floods. Now, what happened in New York where my son lives, I have probably the oldest kids here too. So my son lives in New York, and when the hurricane came through, he had to move out of the building because where's all the power connections? They're in the basement. So all the electric's out. So there's no lifts. So there are people who were told you have 4 hours to get out, and it might be a month or 12 months before you can get back in. So what does a lease to a landlord mean if you can't gain access for 12 months? What happens to stuff in your refrigerator for 12 months? Everything was contaminated with oil, so it was a toxic waste site at the lower level. So you couldn't get any clothes, you had no computers, you were working from home, and suddenly your office is gone, and all your equipment is gone in your home office, because you're not allowed in. It's still there, unless the crooks came in. But so, deal at a time. Talk to Rod, talk to a few others, talk to Fiona in particular. Don't get so worried about the big macro stuff. Shit'll happen, has for a long time. Who in here remembers the oil shocks in the 70s? Oil prices went through the roofs because the people that owned the oil figured out that they could jack the price up. It was like a 4x increase, right? Rationing, and in the States, I was old enough, on the odd days, these cars can get fuel. On the even days, those cars can go to the gas station to get fuel. Now the U.S. is a net exporter of oil. We've got too much. We're giving it away to everybody else. Hell with those people in the Middle East. We're the biggest producer of oil in the world right now. Saudi Arabia's wondering what's going on. So what else? Anything else? No. So I'd rather just open it up to questions, because I think actually a lot of the expertise is over here. We're just the foil for you to discover that you know what you're doing. And you all have gaps, you all have fears, you all have concerns, but if you talk to each other, you start to understand. It's like, well, actually, maybe I know more than I thought, or she knows something, or he knows something. So the magic's in the room.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, hit the bell icon. As soon as we upload, we'll let you know. And enjoy these. They're all dedicated to helping you be more successful in property. Happy investing!